Evo Creo 2 is basically the kind of monster taming game I wish we got years ago. Like if you grew up on Pokemon Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, that whole era of gaming where getting your first monster and heading out on an adventure felt absolutely magical. This game hits that same part of your brain, but then it adds all these modern features, all these quality of life upgrades, all these extra systems, and it makes you realize just how much those old school games were missing. And honestly, this game is so easy to recommend. So today I want to talk about why EvoCreo 2 gave me that nostalgic classic monster catching feeling, while also feeling like a modern game that actually respects your time and gives you way more freedom. And yes, if you're watching this on release, EvoCreo 2 is now out on Steam. The first thing I noticed with this game is that it knows exactly what kind of feeling it's going for. You start off as a cadet alongside two other characters, and right away you get that classic vibe. It's that familiar setup a lot of us grew up loving. You're at the beginning of your journey, you're just starting out, and then comes that moment every monster taming fan loves, choosing your starter. Except in this world, they're not called Pokemon, they're called Creo. And from that moment on, the nostalgia just starts flooding in, because it instantly reminds you of those old school adventures where everything felt exciting. Getting your first creature, stepping into a new world, wondering what's out there, wondering what crazy monsters you're going to find, wondering how strong your team's going to become. But the thing I like about EvoCreo 2 is that it doesn't just copy that formula and call it a day. It takes that classic foundation and then actually builds on it. There's a bad organization in the story that are taking Creo and using them for their own selfish goals. And yeah, the easiest comparison is basically Team Rocket energy. That same vibe of this shady group causing trouble, messing with creatures, and becoming a major part of your adventure. So you're not just out here collecting Creo and beating leaders for the sake of it. You're traveling across the world, getting stronger, meeting new people, doing side quests, uncovering what's going on, and building up towards stopping this organization. And that already gives the game a solid hook, because it's got that old school monster taming structure we all love, but with more going on around it. And that's where the game really started winning me over, because the world in EvoCreo 2 feels like it has way more to do than a lot of older games in the genre. You're not just walking from one town to the next in a straight line and calling it a day. You're learning new traversal abilities like cut, dig, fly, swim, dive, lava swim, and more, and that immediately makes the adventure feel bigger. It makes the world feel like a real place you gradually unlock. And honestly, this is one of the areas where I kept thinking, yep, this is exactly the kind of feature old Pokemon games should have evolved into. Take flying, for example. In the old games, fly was useful, sure, but it was basically just a menu option. Pick a town, fast travel, done. In EvoCreo 2, flying can actually take you through a separate sky area as you travel between towns. That is such a cool idea. It makes traveling feel like part of the adventure instead of just skipping it. And the best part is, the game doesn't force one option on you. If you want that more immersive flying travel, it's there. If you just want instant movement, there's also teleport travel. That right there sums up a lot of what EvoCreo 2 does so well. It gives you choice, it gives you the fun version of exploration, but it also gives you convenience. So it still feels adventurous, but never annoying. And then we got the combat. This is where I think a lot of people are going to get hooked, because the battle system keeps that classic turn-based style that monster taming fans already love, but adds more flexibility around it. So yes, you got that strategic back and forth combat, choosing moves, thinking about matchups, building your team properly, all the good stuff. But then the game also gives you the option to make fights feel faster by turning off certain skill animations if that's your thing. Me personally, I left them on, because honestly, the skills in this game look cool, and there are a lot of them, like a lot. So every fight kept feeling fun because I actually wanted to see what my Creo were doing. The abilities have that satisfying feel where you don't just want to win the battle, you want to watch your team absolutely pop off while doing it, and I think that balance matters. Because sometimes in these kinds of games, battles can feel a bit too slow, or too repetitive, or too basic. Here it feels much more exciting because you've got that old school structure, but with a bit more style and freedom built into it. And then of course, we've got one of the biggest reasons games like this stay or die. The creatures themselves, and EvoCreo 2 absolutely delivers here. There are around 300 Creo to collect, including rare, Creo, and legendary ones too. And that gives the game so much replay value and so much of that just one more area, just one more encounter feeling, because that's the magic, right? That feeling of seeing something new and instantly thinking, what is that? Can I catch it? Does it evolve? Can it become one of my best team members? That feeling is still undefeated when a game does it well, and Evo Creo 2 does it really well. There's always that excitement of finding something new, testing it out, seeing what kind of moves it can learn, seeing whether it fits your playstyle, and just building this team that starts feeling properly yours. And that brings me to one of the coolest parts of the whole game, the customization and build variety. Because this game is not shy about letting you get creative, you can swap skills around on the fly, which already feels amazing because it gets rid of that old school frustration where you were stuck with certain moves and had to just live with it. Not here. You can actually experiment, you can adapt, you can tweak your Creo for different fights, different situations, different strategies. That alone makes team building way more fun than a lot of older monster taming games. But then you add in the fact that Creo can use all sorts of elemental attacks, and things get kind of wild. Like, I had a reindeer Creo running water cannon, lightning cannon, flamethrower, and then this crazy heal that also gave me a reflect ability, and I'm sitting there like, this is insane in the best way, because it makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel like you're creating these crazy versatile monsters instead of just following one boring preset path. And that's a huge part of why the game feels so good to play. It's not just about collecting Creo, it's about building them in fun ways. Then there are the side quests, and this is another area where the game adds a lot more flavor than I was expecting. Some side quests have you trading Creo with NPCs to get unique Creo, which is awesome because that always makes the world feel more alive. It feels like people in the world actually care about these creatures too. It's not just battle, battle, battle all the time. There's more personality to it, and some of the other side quests reward you with gear like boots and armor that you can equip to your Creo. And this is such a nice extra layer because now you're not only thinking about levels and skills, you're also thinking about perks and bonuses. Maybe you want extra damage, maybe you want a chance to cause fear when hit, maybe you want to build around certain effects and make one of your Creo into an absolute menace. That kind of stuff adds so much flavor to the game. It makes your team feel even more custom. And once again, I kept getting that same thought in my head. Why didn't more games in this genre do this sooner? And speaking of features I absolutely love, we need to talk about the trainer customization, because this was one of those things that instantly hit me with nostalgia in the weirdest way. Do you remember in old Pokemon games when you'd fight trainers like ninjas, scientists, weird special characters, and you think, man, why can't I look like that? Why does my character always have to look basic while all these random trainers look cooler than me? Well, Evo Creo 2 actually lets you unlock different outfits and costumes for your tamer. You've got shops around the world selling different attire, and certain quests unlock even more costumes you can use. And that is just such a fun feature. It doesn't sound massive when you say it out loud, but in-game it adds so much personality. It makes your character feel like your character. That kind of visual customization goes a long way in an RPG like this, especially when you're spending hours and hours in the game. But one of my favorite features in the whole game has to be the skill tree for your Evo Creo tamer. This is where the modern design really kicks in, because you earn skill points and put them into this tree that gives you genuinely strong buffs. And I don't mean tiny little bonuses where you barely notice a difference. I mean stuff like 50% extra XP in fights, full heal after every fight, 50% extra movement speed. That is huge. That is the kind of feature that makes you immediately go, okay, yes, this is what I'm talking about. That's the kind of system that makes progression feel exciting outside of just leveling your creatures. You're leveling your whole experience. You're making the entire game feel smoother, faster, stronger, better. And that's such a smart addition because it gives you another reason to keep pushing forward. It also helps the game feel more modern than just a straight up throwback. It respects the nostalgia, but it also gives you systems that feel current. Another thing I really appreciate is the fact that this game is offline friendly, and honestly that matters more and more these days. Sometimes you just want to buy a game, load it up and play, no nonsense, no always online rubbish, no feeling like your single player adventure is somehow tied to a connection check every 5 seconds. Evo Creo 2 just lets you enjoy the journey, and that alone makes it feel even more like a proper classic in spirit. It's got that old school heart, you just play it, and sometimes that's exactly what people want. And the best part is, All of these systems actually come together really well with a story that I was genuinely into. That matters because a game like this could have easily relied purely on nostalgia. It could have just gone, oh, hey, remember old monster games, and hoped that was enough. But Evo Creo 2 actually has enough going on that it feels like more than that. It feels like a game that understands why people love the classics, but also understands why players have wanted the genre to move forward. That's what makes it stand out. It's not just trying to be a copy, it's trying to be an evolution of that old formula. And honestly, I think it succeeds. So overall, where do I land on this? For me, Evo Creo 2 is a 9 out of 10. Easy. This game absolutely nails that nostalgic monster taming feeling, especially if you grew up in that Pokémon Red and Blue era, but then it adds all these modern systems and quality of life features that make it feel fresh, flexible, and way more satisfying to play. This feels like one of those games where monster taming fans are going to start playing it and instantly go, yep, this is what I've been missing, because it's got the classic adventure. It's got loads of creatures to collect, it's got fun turn-based combat, it's got side quests, customization, gear, traversal skills, build variety, and a skill tree that actually feels meaningful. And on top of that, I played on PC with a controller and had zero issues. So from my experience, this is a very, very easy recommendation. Now, just to be completely transparent here, I did receive the game from the Evo Creo 2 team, but that does not change my opinion. I'll always be honest with you. If I think something's good, I'll say it. If I think something's bad, I'll say that too. And in this case, I genuinely think this is a really good game. If you've been craving that classic Pokemon style itch, but you want something with more freedom, more features, and more modern design, this is absolutely worth checking out. And honestly, I can easily see people getting 30 to 60 hours out of this game, no problem. So yeah, highly recommended. If this looks like your kind of thing, check out the Steam link in the description and let me know in the comments what feature from old school monster taming games you always wish they had improved. Because after playing Evo Creo 2, I've got to say, this really does feel like one of those games that takes the old formula and finally gives it some of the upgrades it deserved. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.